Welcome back to Mabie Island. I'm Papa.
And I'm Gaga.
And if you didn't see our last video done a couple of weeks ago, Love Story, watch it and hit the like button, subscribe, and ring the bell.
Follow us on social media, Twitter and Instagram.
And tell us what country, state, province you're watching from. We love that. And we want to give a special shout out to Africa. We understand that we have fans there. Please let us know what country in Africa you're watching from. We love you guys.
Okay, so today we're going to be listening to Taylor Swift. The name of the song is You All Over Me, featuring Maren Morris, a country singer, also a friend of Taylor's. Taylor wrote this song when she was very young for the album Fearless, but it didn't make the cut for the album. So now that she's older and she's in control of her own music, she has released the song, which is pretty much a country song, and featuring a country singer. So, are you guys ready to listen to You All Over Me by Taylor Swift,
Yes.
featuring Maren Morris?
Yes.
So this is Taylor's version from the vault.
Right, with the
That means
country
it was-
singer Maren Morris.
Was not originally released.
Once the last drop of rain, the stain,
I like kind of the country vibe to it.
It does have a country
It's got
sound.
acoustic guitar there.
on old county roads, of old bathroom stalls.
Taylor sounds like a country singer here.
It's how it used to be.
Is this her singing the song now?
In your pocket,
Yes.
Yes, okay.
been spent and treated.
For those watching us, we're looking on a laptop.
Yeah. A low harmony part, so that
Maren
must be
Morris,
Maren
whose
Morris.
voice is low. Maren Morris's voice is low.
And she's coming in on the chorus.
Right.
Oh. Sounds like a breakup song.
Kind of sounds that way.
The best and worst day of June, but no amount of freedom gets you clear.
I like the lines. It's well written, well sung.
She's been a poet from the beginning, even
Yep.
though she was much younger here.
Still got you all over me.
All right, so you heard the song. Oh, what do you think?
Sounded like a breakup song to me.
And it does. Unlike Love Story, where she used the play of Romeo and Juliet to imagine what a love would be like, this, to me, only can come from an actual relationship. And I don't know if we know who the relationship was with, but she was definitely young.
I agree. You know what we should do? Let's get into the lyrics and have you guys break it down and see what you think about the entire song in depth.
Okay.
All right.
Once the last drop of rain has dried off the pavement, shouldn't I find a stain? But I never do. I think that in that she's talking about the stain is like the unseen hurt when you're in a relationship that you realize is not going too well. That's the stain.
They're assuming at this point the relationship's over with, right?
It sounds like it. It sounds like it.
The way the tire turn stones on old country roads, they leave them muddy underneath. It reminds me of you. You get the impression that she felt the relationship had gotten muddy, or she had muddy on her.
Yeah, it had left her feeling muddied.
Right.
And notice there it says, reminds me of you. The next verse down, she says, reminds me of me. So this next verse is more descriptive of her feelings. She says, you find graffiti on the walls of old bathroom stalls. You know you can scratch it right off. It's how it used to be. In other words, you could, like somebody, get over it quickly, but now she's a little more invested. And she says, but like the dollar in your pocket that's been spent and traded in, you can't change where it's been. That sounds like to me that she felt like she'd been used. An old wrinkled dollar that's been passed through many hands.
Well, I agree with you, and I think you can't change where it's been. Also, you still have the memories.
Yes.
You might have broken up, but if there was any emotion involved at all, and in this case it looks like there was, you still have those memories. You can't erase them.
And hopefully you learn from them.
Hopefully you learn. Well, let's go through the song and see.
Then she addresses that in the chorus. I lived and I learned, had you, got burned, held out, held on, God knows too long. So it sounds like she kept trying to make the relationship work when maybe she shouldn't have. And wasted time, lost tears, swore that I'd get out of here. But no amount of freedom gets you clean. And I think that's an important line. I've still got you all over me. It's hard sometimes when you're invested in a relationship to walk away because the relationship's dysfunctional.
Well, it leads me to believe that perhaps she broke up with him because she said, held out, held on, God knows too long, trying to perhaps hoping he would change, hoping he would treat her better or love her. And then, but it kind of indicates to me that maybe she said, I've got to get out of this, even though it hurts. I've got to get out of this.
He didn't treat her too well.
Right.
That's the impression I get.
And when she says, I've still got you all over me, yes, she's gotten out of the relationship, but she's still got the hurt and the memories.
Then this is kind of like a flashback. The next verse, the best and worst day of June was the one that I met you with your hands in your pockets and your don't you wish you had me grin. But I did. So I smiled, and I melted like a child. Now every breath of air I breathe reminds me of then. So it looked like a flirtation. He flirted with her. She received it. She bought into it, and that was the beginning of it.
When she melted like a child, I think she fell hard.
Yeah.
She loved him. Or,
Yeah.
You know, yes, no question about that. And then she repeats, again, I lived, I learned, held out, held on. I think the next set of lines after that are the key lines. She says, I lived and I learned, I found out what it was like to turn and see that we were never really meant to be. She had to take a hard look at this and say, although I love him, something's not right. He's either not treating me right or something. And I, for my own sanity, have got to end this relationship. So she says, I lied, I cried, and watched part of myself die.
Yeah, that's...
Walking away from a bad relationship, if you're invested in it, is hard.
Yeah, and nobody wants to lose.
Right.
You learn, I think you learn not to try to manipulate the relationship yourself, because in the end it only hurts you.
It only hurts you.
So, you know, when you feel like things aren't going well, you need to get out. I think, though, when it's maybe your first love or you're early in trying to experience love, it's a little bit harder. It means a lot more, you know, because you do learn in multiple relationships.
Okay, so after hearing the song, I have a quick question for you guys. Obviously, she's experiencing a breakup and severe heartache. For anyone, whatever age, experiencing heartache, I have two questions. Have you ever experienced heartache like this, where you had to leave someone, whether you broke up or they broke up? And the second question is, what advice would you give for someone trying to break away from someone and heartache?
When Gaga and I got married, I was older, and I had been through some relationships. And a couple of times, someone I cared for broke up with me, and a couple of times I broke up with a young lady out of my own self-preservation, somebody that I really cared for. And I would say to young people, first of all, this is part of the natural process that the good Lord leads you through to find the right person. When you're in middle school, your relationships last about a month. When you're in high school, they last about a year. And when you get married eventually, hopefully they'll last a lifetime. They don't all do. But my advice would be this. If you care for somebody and you sense that they're not caring for you or they're not treating you the way you should, do what Taylor Swift did.
Get out.
Get out.
Right.
Get out.
Right.
And will it hurt?
Yes.
It will hurt you physically. Your chest will feel like it's on fire. It'll be emotional.
You have a pit in your stomach.
You'll have a pit in your stomach because you cared. But that's not a good enough reason to sit there and take it. And that's the way Taylor felt.
And then I would say in her lyric where she said, I lived, I learned, it's really important to learn from the situation. Figure out what it was you didn't like and what terms you want to have a relationship on so that you can go into another one in a more healthy way. So you just have to learn to come to terms with that hurt and accept it and realize it was there to teach you.
And some of the things you may learn are things that you would have done differently. But I said earlier in the song, the key line, I think, is when she said, I lived, I learned, and found out what it was to turn around and realize we were never meant to be. She didn't say she didn't still love him. She just said this was not going to work, and she had to move on. And she says, a part of me died, but she moved on.
All right, so I have one final question, and then we'll rate the song. The heartache, the pit in the stomach, the fire in your chest, and that pain, does it go away?
Yes. I mean, it doesn't go away quickly, but it does slowly fade.
Apparently
Yes.
it did not for her, because she says, you're still all over me. And so that's what I mean by coming to terms with it and accepting it, so that you can kind of free yourself from it and learn from it.
Well, she said, you're still over me at the time she wrote this.
Yes.
She's
I'm
probably-
sure she's okay now.
Okay, so what are your final thoughts about You All Over Me?
Well, I'll just quote, it's better to have loved and lost than never to have loved at all.
My final thought would be, I hope she never walks away from me.
Well, so
Am I
far she
still
hasn't.
all over you?
I think you're doing good. So, when it comes to rating this song and giving it a 1 through 5 stars, 5 being the best, what do you rate this song? Gaga, you go first.
4.
I'm partial to country music, and I love the words in this song, so I'm going to have to give it a 5.
I knew he would say that. I'm not as partial to country.
Okay.
If you liked this song and our reaction, tell us what else you want us to react to. And we'll ask Director Meredith and Producer Coleman to make it happen.
We love your comments, and we read them all, and we'll even answer some of them.
So hit the like button, subscribe to Mabie Island. We will see you next time, and it's so nice to know.
So many nice people.
Bye.